Hey, Jeff. Yesterday you mentioned that you were very hopeful Tyler would be able to go this week. Just wondering if he's back, is he going to slide to left tackle again and have Zion go back to left guard?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good about him being back. He's practicing well. I'll give it another day or two to see exactly where we're at, but I feel pretty good about him. He looks good. He had another good day today. So we'll see how he does Thursday and Friday, and we'll make a final decision on exactly where we'll play everybody.
Just a reminder, raise your digital hand. Dan?
Coach, Phil had mentioned yesterday, I think, something about Georgia Tech having a little bit of a different defense. I figured I'd ask what exactly jumps off the page about them that's a little different from everyone else that you've seen.
They're kind of playing. We've seen it a little bit this year. Temple played some of it. UMass played some of it. It's kind of like the new in vogue defense where you're playing 3 down linemen. You're playing 3 safeties across, 2 corners, nickels, and you have kind of like a robber in the middle of the field, whether it's quarters, man, an extra guy running the alley. I think Iowa State started to do a lot of it a year or 2 ago. So we've seen some of it, Dan, but it's definitely kind of been new within the last few years, I would say. It's not your traditional 3-4, 4-3 defense. It's a little bit of a 3 high structure with guys dropping in. Heavy quarters based. They'll play man. They'll mix it up. They'll pressure. They'll play some 3 deep. But I know they like to play a lot of quarters with that guy kind of running the alley and handling some other things in the pass coverage.
We'll go to Emma.
Coach, so Georgia Tech played Clemson to almost the same result that you guys did. Did you take any, information from that game, or have you watched that game at all, their game against Clemson, to see, what to expect?
I've watched the game. When we were getting ready for Clemson, they're so differently than us defensively that, I didn't use much of that game just because the schemes don't really match. Certainly watched it and studied how they played them because they did a really good job. I'm sure Coach Signetti and the offensive side did as well.
Go to Andy.
With all the injuries on defense and in the back end now at safety, there's some new names in the depth chart. Just wanted to ask about John Marie Jones and Steve Lubisher. What have you seen from them, and what got them to that backup position now?
Yeah, Bug Jones, as we call him, Bug, really sharp. And he did a great job while he was on our scout team, our look teams, but really picks up things well. He's got good size to him. He's a physical tackler. He's got range. He's got a really bright future, especially at that position. He can play free or strong, but he processes for a freshman at a really high level. He's always locked in. He's one of those guys. He's kind of like Zay. He's one of those guys who's always in a good mood. Just the way he approaches the game, the way he approaches practice. I got to smile talking about him because I think kid's going to be a good one. He's got the right attitude. Lubes, another guy, he's battled injuries himself pretty much since we've been here. But another guy's continued to work. He's got good size, strength. He's showing us that he has a grasp for the scheme and what we're doing right now. And hopefully those guys will be ready if they get a chance to get in the game.
We'll go to Dan.
Coach, this week the ACC released its football honors class, and Mark Herzlich was on. And I know that you weren't here when Mark Herzlich played, and I don't know if you've had too many interactions with him. I know he's been calling games for ACC Network, but can you just speak a little bit about his impact to college football and what he was able to accomplish both as a player on and off the field?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of knows everything Mark's been through and how he fought through and came out on top and continued to play. I have had a lot of interactions with Mark. He's been very supportive since the moment that we got here. He's called a bunch of our games. We probably text every single week. He is what Boston College is all about. He's a phenomenal human being. He's got this great intensity about him. He's a guy I would have loved to coach. he is all ball. He is as tough as nails on and off the field. And I mean that, obviously from what he fought through off the field to come back and play, that's incredible. That's even more impressive than what he did on the field. So I'm just happy I know him and he's supportive. And, I hope to coach a bunch of guys like him. He deserves that award. And we're all really fired up for him to be part of that.
Go back to Emma.
Georgia Tech had 5 different players catch passes last week, all for double-digit yards. How do you control their versatility in the pass game?
No, I think the receivers, they mix in a bunch of guys. So, Emma, I think that's going to happen. They don't throw to the tight ends too much. It's mixing in a variety of receivers. But where they're most different is they get the ball to the backs. Number one has a ton of catches. He's just like having a receiver back there when they want to use him. So I think that's where they kind of, they separate themselves a little bit. They have a dynamic player in him, whether they hand it off to him or throw it to him. That's probably been, the main focus and one of the reasons so many guys are doing what they're doing.
Go back to Andy.
We haven't talked about Connor Liddon in a while, but only 1 miss on the year has been pretty consistent for you guys. What have you seen from him in terms of his confidence? Just a true freshman, but really settling into that role now.
Yeah, he is. He's got such a different air about him and such a different confidence about him since that first time I kind of threw him in the fire in the Missouri game. And I think it was a 49-yarder, to the point where I think I went for it. I think it was a 4th down and 4 on the 29 or 30-yard line in Syracuse. And I think he was a little mad at me because he felt good and he wanted to kick it. So I like to see that out of him. That's not something he would have shown earlier. Now, he was respectful about it. It's not like he joked with me like, Coach, I would have made it. He didn't say, Coach, I should. No, he was awesome. But I'm starting to see his personality and I'm starting to see his confidence. And I'll tell you what, man, when he kicks, that thing explodes off his foot. In the NFL, when those really good field goal kickers kick it, like sometimes you can't even tell if it's good because it goes up so high. You guys know what I'm talking about? He's one of those guys now. When he kicks it, it just explodes. It gets so high where sometimes I'm like, was that good or not? I think we got a great one. And as a head coach, you quickly learn how important those guys are. And he's an awesome kid, so I'm pumped he's here.
Go to Dan.
Coach, kind of a 2-parter. One, this is your last road trip of the season. When you look back at where the year started, and I feel like it flies by, but the fact that you're on your last road trip and you get to finish with 2 games at home, has that occurred to you at all? That this is the last time you have to board a flight potentially until a potential postseason game is 2, and 2 is with the way the league has kind of broken down this year. There's a lot of 3-loss teams in that. How does that speak to you for parity in the league and what some people maybe don't realize when they see a bunch of teams with 2 losses or 3 losses or even 4?
Well, I didn't think about, to be honest with you, Dan, that this was our last road trip. I'm happy that we'll play our last 2 games at home, especially with the way the students have been coming out. It's been such a cool environment to play in and such a great feel, and I'm grateful for them and for that. To the second part of the question, I just think it shows that there is a lot of parity. And on any day, anybody can beat anybody, whether it was the champ from the year before or a team that's ranked in the top 15 that all of a sudden gets knocked out or top 10. I like it. I like the parity. And I think it speaks to the ACC. And I don't see that as a knock, Dan, just because there's not 1 or 2 dominant teams. People can take it that way. You look at it as there's a lot of teams that are really getting better, and there's a lot of really good coaches in this league, and there's a lot of really good recruiting going on in this league. And I think the ACC is going to continue to get better, and I think you're going to continue to see this. You're going to see some close games where, the teams that everybody thought in the past were going to win aren't necessarily going to win, and that there's other teams coming up. And if we keep working hard and doing the right things, we're hopeful that we'll be one of those teams.
We'll wrap things up with Andy.
Jeff, I know last year you said that bowl eligibility wasn't necessarily a talking point in terms of week by week, using that as a motivator. Is that the same thing this year? Is it more just focusing on Georgia Tech only, or have you talked about bowl eligibility at all to this team?
Yeah, I've certainly thought of it, Andy, but like always, I'll just be very honest with you. I've not used it as motivation. If our guys aren't motivated to play this game, then I've done a poor job. They know it. These guys understand it, and I'm sure they want to go to a bowl as badly as anybody. But no, I have not had that conversation with them. We got to get better. We're playing a good team, and our guys have a ton of energy and confidence right now. They're excited to play. They're excited to practice today, but we got to go out and execute at a high level and just try to win this one, and we'll see what happens after that.